Hey, friends, and especially fine jewelry friends who might be in the middle of a struggle because gold prices are at an all time high. Today is April 16th, 2025. And when I check my Kitco app, the current price of gold is $3,337 an ounce. This is the highest gold price I have seen in my about 20 years in the jewelry industry. I've never seen it like this before. And chances are, no matter what stage you've been at in the jewelry industry, this is the highest you've ever seen it too. So, today, for this video, we are going to talk about what to do about your pricing when gold hits this kind of high and maybe is sending a little bit of disruption into your business. So let's dive in. So the first thing to note is that it is always the right time to review your pricing strategy in your business. This was true when gold was 1200 an ounce, and it's going to be true if gold ever hits like hopefully not, for 5,000 an ounce. Hopefully, we won't get to that point. That would be very bad. But reviewing your pricing strategy, doing periodic audits of your pricing is always going to be a relevant practice in your business. So, if you haven't done this before, there is absolutely no time like the present to do it now, to even set yourself up with a strategy that you can carry through or decide to change in the future. So, the first thing to note is that yes, pricing is a formula. I teach a formula. I always teach people to start with their numbers because that's the floor below which you cannot go. If you don't start with the numbers, it's very easy to get yourself into a place where your pricing is not profitable. So, pricing always starts with the formula. It is not only a formula, and it doesn't stop there. Pricing intersects with your branding, your position, who your target customer is. It has a lot to do with your business model. Do you sell just direct to consumer through e-commerce, Etsy, and shows? Do you primarily sell to galleries and retailers, or are you doing a mix of both? All of these factors actually inform your pricing and the strategy that you apply to your pricing. So this is all going to mix together, and you're going to be taking that formula, those numbers, and getting a little bit creative with where do you see yourself? Who's your competition? Where would you like to be in 5 years? The dreaded "where will you be in 5 years" question, right? But all of these ideas actually factor into your pricing strategy. Other things that factor into your pricing strategy are your production practices. Are you mostly outsourcing? Are you mostly doing the work yourself? Do you have an assistant? Do you want to hire an assistant? How efficient are you in the production process? Or is the production process something that needs reviewing? All of these things will absolutely factor into your pricing strategy. And if you haven't done this kind of work before, it's a good time to sit down and write it out. It's a good time to sit down and take a measure of it. I mentioned before the business model. Have you ever tried quantifying how much of your business is direct to consumer versus how much goes to retailers if you're doing a mix? That is the kind of information that you'll want to have some understanding of in order to be able to inform your pricing strategy. So feel free to hit pause, take a moment, and write that all down. Okay, so let's address a little bit of an elephant in the room. I know that some of you who know me, have followed me, have talked to me, I know that many of you have been diligently reviewing your pricing over the last couple of years. So when you ask me the question of should you raise your prices, I might actually throw the question back to you and say, well, what do you think? What are your profit margins telling you at the wholesale level? Are you falling below that profit margin? Are you staying within enough of a profit margin to make it work? Now, the elephant in the room is that I know that there are some of you out there watching this who maybe have not reviewed your pricing in a little while, like maybe since before last year, in which case you might be feeling like you have to play catch up. So, if you were to ask me the question of, do you need to raise the prices on your jewelry? The answer is most likely going to be yes, but big caveat, you still will need to do the work to ensure that your jewelry is still turning a kind of a profit. It might not be the profit margin that you had envisioned, but it still needs to be profitable. Otherwise, you'd be losing money per sale. So, one of the things that I often counsel clients on is to step back and pick 10 or even 20, depending on the size of your line, 10 to 20 of your best sellers and do a spot check on them. Take all of your ingredients, all of the parts and pieces that go into making that piece of jewelry, and reprice those parts, add it all up, and see if your pricing is still going to be at a profit level. If it's not on those pieces, then there's a really good chance that on the rest of your line it's also going to be a problem. So that's why I recommend starting with the spot check on your best sellers. That'll give you a lot of information about how the rest of your line is doing without having to go through each and every piece in your collection. And I recommend this whether you've priced recently or not. I actually do recommend for most jewelers that you're doing a pricing audit at least once a year in a normal time. And I know we are not in normal times. Over $3,000 gold prices is not normal at all. So more normal times, I usually recommend doing a spot check on your pricing at least once a year. In these current times, I'm upping that to about every 6 months. If we get into some like really astronomical price range, it's probably going to have to be quarterly. But the idea is that you are reviewing and just spot checking those best sellers as often as you have time for. So I also want to bring in a little bit of data to hopefully help you tell a better story about what's happening in your business. So as we speak right now, the latest data from the jewelry industry is that people are still shopping for jewelry. They are still, and people at a certain level are not price resistant at all. Now, it is also true that some consumers have decided to spend a lot but get fewer pieces. Meaning that if they were considering getting like two pairs of earrings, now if the earrings are up to $5,000, they might just buy one pair of earrings. Now, that sounds a little bit scary because that reduces the potential volume of your sales. But it's also true that you could be profiting more or making a similar amount of revenue, but having to do less work. So there is a silver lining to this, which is that raising your prices could mean less work for you in the long run. And it can mean that you're still in the game if you're still making sales, right? So it can sound a little bit scary to hear that the volume is dropping, but it sounds like also people are still buying gold jewelry. So I think that this is a good idea to keep in the back of your head that raising prices doesn't necessarily decrease your revenue. It might just decrease your volume. And the last lesson that I want to bring into it is this. So, as I mentioned earlier, I have been in the jewelry industry for around 20 years, and these are the highest gold prices I've ever seen. But it also means that I worked in the industry through the last recession. And one of the things that I learned at that time is that the businesses who didn't just survive the rough times, but also thrived in the later, less rough times, were the ones who did a few core things. They kept their eye on their profit margins. They absolutely kept their eye on their cash flow to see what money was coming in and coming out and what decisions they might have to make based on that. And these businesses also still committed themselves to their marketing strategy. In fact, many of them recommitted themselves to their marketing strategy. So, in order to not just get through this time, but to actually thrive when hopefully gold prices come down, if the economy improves, this is going to be these practices that you put in place, developing a pricing strategy, following your pricing strategy, going through and reviewing your prices. These are skills that you will need throughout the life of your business. These are not just skills for the rough times. These are skills for all of the time. So if you can build up this muscle now, the likelihood is that you'll still not just survive, but thrive when things get easier down the road. And I just wanted to leave you with that thought and idea and wish you the best of luck. And please feel free to drop a comment if you have any questions.